Southeast Asia has not been forgotten by God, and revival is not a distant hope, but it is a divine appointment. And I believe with all my heart and all my soul that it is Southeast Asia's time for revival.
I heard your call today to preach the gospel. I will obey. I will go and be a power conductor for this excellent power that comes from the throne of God. If you have heard the call of God today, lift your hand now.
When I was 15 years old, I stepped foot in Asia for the very first time. I landed in the Philippines on a ministry trip with a close minister friend. And during that time, we saw over 10,000 people give their lives to Jesus. We witnessed miracles, signs and wonders. We witnessed the power of God released throughout that nation. And that power of God marked my life forever. So much so that that fire that stirred me has never left me. Years later, at a conference that we put on in Pennsylvania, a prophet spoke words that pierced my spirit. Prophet James looked at me and he declared this. He said, "Jack, you will see cities transformed before your very own eyes." You know, those words have been ringing in my ears for months, especially as we prepare for this move to Southeast Asia. Man, we will see cities transformed in front of our very own eyes. During that first ever ministry trip in the Philippines, a pastor in Butuan City spoke prophetically. She declared that this trip would be the launch of my friend's ministry to the world. His international ministry would be launched. And that word came to pass. His ministry went on to reach Europe. He preached the gospel in stadiums and he saw hundreds and thousands of people saved. 15 years later, I find myself standing in the same city at roughly the exact same age that he was when this word was spoken over him. And I was in the exact same church, preaching the gospel once again.
That no matter the stronghold, the addiction, tonight people will be set free.
And after the service, that same pastor approached me. She looked at me and I could see that she was filled with the Spirit of God. And she looked at me and she spoke this. She said, "Jack, I spoke a prophetic word 15 years ago when you were only 15 years old. And now I'm speaking this exact word over you. The Spirit of God says, Jack, your ministry, your international ministry is going to be launched after this trip." From that moment on, something inside my spirit ignited. It was deeper, it was heavier. And as we went forth and ministered across the Philippines and Thailand and Indonesia this past March, we held crusades, pastor and leader conferences and gatherings. We witnessed many salvations, healings and miracles. I started to notice something, that in my prayer, I began to weep and cry over Southeast Asia. I started to see visions of mass revival and millions of people encountering God. I started to see thousands of harvesters raised up and equipped and sent all the way throughout Southeast Asia to preach the gospel. And once again, in that moment in my secret place, I heard the echo of those words. "Jack, you will see cities transformed before your very own eyes." This wasn't just another ministry trip, but it felt like we were receiving a summons from heaven, like an invitation from God to lay our lives down for Southeast Asia, to go as revivalists to the nations, to simply contend for awakening in that area. You know, we believe with all our hearts that we are called to position Southeast Asia for revival. And look, God has been so faithful to us. He has allowed us to build businesses that sustain our family. You know, and today we're not raising funds to support a lifestyle, but every dollar given goes directly to the work of ministry, advancing the gospel, equipping the church, and reaching the lost across Southeast Asia. You know, on January 30th, 2026, we are moving our entire family to Asia. We are responding to the clear call to go to the Philippines, to go to Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore, and Japan and beyond. Not just to visit, not just for a quick ministry, adventure, but to build long term, to equip and preach the gospel in power. And look, our vision is bold. We desire to see 1 million souls saved. We are believing God to move mightily. And with all this said, we are believing God in this time to raise $100,000 to fund evangelistic events, crusades, church plants, and to mobilize the body of Christ across Southeast Asia. This seed will help us break ground and begin to move the harvest forward in that region and in those nations, because we simply believe that it is Southeast Asia's time for revival. Today, we are inviting you to partner with us. If God is stirring your heart today as you're listening to this video, to this message, I want to ask you, would you pray and consider giving to this mission? Your generosity fuels crusades. It equips pastors and leaders. It's going to plant churches, and it's going to help position Asia for revival.